you can either create a new family title block from the title block templates here, 11 by 17. That's basically just a 11 by 17 rectangle. Or I think a more preferred method would be to open the one family that is already a title block that's 11 by 17 and use some of the text parameters. So here we want to go to families and open in the US Imperial folder, the title blocks folder here.
You decide what size sheet you would like to use for your project. Some students will like to use the 11 by 17 for that size portfolio, while others will decide to create a sheet 24 by 36 inches to lay out the project as a drawing set and print individual views for their portfolio.
We'll find the 11 by 17 horizontal B horizontal family and open that one. And one of the first things we should do is save it as a different name and put it in your folder structure, your library, so you can save it as a family and navigate to the folder structure that you're using for your families. It's suggested not to use the Revit folder structure because when you upgrade Revit or if it crashes and you have to replace it, you might lose some of those files. So create your own library that's outside of the Revit system folders. You can rename it with your own name that you'd like to use. I'm just going to add new after the word horizontal, pick save. And so now when I look at the name of it, I know that I'm inside a different file. And I'm inside this file that has loosely these lines and text that I can use for my own design. Design your own logo based on this 11 by 17 sheet of paper. All of this information is important to us, but it's all based on your design. At the minimum, you should take out the Autodesk logo and go ahead and add your own. So you can go to Insert and pick Image and find an image that represents your own logo. If you don't have one, then maybe create one, because at some point you're creating business cards and deciding on your how you're going to present your name. It can be an image that you put here instead of the Autodesk text. Then save it, close out of this file, and open the file that already has a building created. You're building your own portfolio, so everyone's will be a little different. So here we can highlight Sheets, right-click and pick New Sheets in the project browser, pick the Load button, and navigate over to that new 11 by 17 sheet that you created with your logo and your design.
Now that we've taken a look at how you can customize your own sheet, let's take a minute to really take a look at the different sheet sizes. So, as I said, you can highlight Sheets, right-click and pick New Sheet, and then in this New Sheet dialog box, you can pick the Load button, navigate over to your customized one, or double-click on the title blocks folder so that you can pull in whatever size sheet you're using. So I'll use, in this case, 24 by 36 inch, which is the 22 by 34 horizontal, and I'll pick OK. Now I'm in this size sheet. You could double click on this one and customize it, making sure that you save it as a different name so that you can use it for this project. But what we have here is a sheet that we can use to drag our views onto. So We can highlight, for instance, the first floor view and drag it over to your sheet, let go and click, and you'll see what the size looks like. Now, similar to AutoCAD, we have, this is called a viewport. So if we double click on this box, you see how it brings us into that view. Everything else is grayed out. If I double click outside of the box, out in this gray space or outside of the paper, I'm actually activating and deactivating the view. So another way to do that, instead of double clicking inside here and double clicking outside here, you could right click here and pick activate view, which puts you into the view, and then right click and deactivate view, which takes you out of it, in and out of the view that's on your sheet. So what we want to do is double click on the view so that you're inside it, and then at this point you can start to clean it up. I don't need these trees, I don't need these elevation markers, so I can click on the elevation marker, right click, and pick hide in view category. It takes the whole category and it actually puts these categories underneath that dialog box we used. We typed in VG. So VG, and now the elevation markers are underneath the annotation category. These two tabs will be, for the most part, the two objects that you'll be turning on and off, possibly by category. So the trees, I'll click on one tree, right click, hide in view category. Now when I double click outside here of the view, you can see that it's cropped a little bit better. If you want to change the scale of it, you can either double click to go inside the view, or double click here, you're inside the view but still in the sheet. At the bottom left corner, you can start to change the scale to figure out what scale you're going to use for this size sheet. So if I was working with an 11 by 17, I might use this size depending on your house too, or your building structure and what scale it is. If I change this to 1/4 inch, see how it starts to get a little bit bigger. So the annotation goes with it. Once you start to put text and dimensions, it will automatically change with it. I'll go back to an 1/8 inch just to show you how to work with it. Now, if I right click and deactivate or double click out in space, here I can get back to my drawing. Now this is where it gets a little tricky, because you can click on the image, or the viewport it's called, and drag it around, and the title goes with it. You notice that there's a little blue dot at the end of this line that's in the title, so I can now drag this line back. But if I want to change the title location independently, I have to click in space so that the view isn't highlighted, and just click right on this title and then drag it over to where I need to put it. And this title is the direct reflection of what your view is called. So if you right click and rename your view, maybe you want to use uppercase letters, and you have here first floor plan. When you pick OK, it's going to ask you if you want to rename those levels. Pick yes, and then you'll have that in place. Also, these tags, these titles are a family, and families can be modified. So if you wanted to use a different type of family here for this title, you can go to insert, pick load family, and under annotation now, the annotation folder under US Imperial, you can change your views to thumbnail, so you can take a look at these. The one that is the default is this view title, but maybe you want to have a view with no head, or you want to use one of these other ones that are circular with the sheet number, so that you're referencing the sheet and the number, because that's how drawing sets start to become involved in referencing different sheets and which number it is in that sheet. And Revit will keep all of that organized it's up to you on how detailed, especially when you get into a more construction documentation, course. So if I load one of these other styles, once I load it, I can click on this title, and over here under edit type, I may want to duplicate this then viewport, but here under the title, I can change my view title to the one I loaded, no head here, view title. And so if I do that and I pick apply, you see how it changes the title. So it just depends on what you'd like to have in the end. You can even pick none if you don't want a title and you want to put your own in there as you're working with this. So I stopped the video after there was a customization of the title sheet and the beginning of the title sheet. So it's going to seem like a different topic, but at this point I'm transitioning back to the title sheet so that you can decide on what size you'd like based on the scale, and then come back and work with the title sheet.
Once you load it, you can pick OK and call this sheet the title sheet with the letters TS. Each company is different in what they use for this drawing index or title sheet or cover sheet, and you can even create your own family for the cover sheet with a different design. The first thing I'd like to show you here is how to bring a colorful background into the sheet so that you can overlay your images on that background. So we'll go to one of your elevations, and in that elevation we can duplicate it first. So right click and pick duplicate, view, and duplicate, and then rename this view title sheet background and pick OK. And then at the bottom left corner under visual styles, we'll go to graphic display options and change the background to gradient so that we can develop a color, and it's of your choice. For the sky color and the horizon color, we won't be using the ground color, so I'll go ahead and pick apply, and I'll pick OK. The idea is here that we can put a check mark and crop view and crop region visible in properties so that we can crop the view and extend it away from the drawing so that now we have this portion of background color that we can bring into our sheet. And then going back to the north view, we can duplicate it again and rename this one title sheet elevation, because we're going to need to change the scale of it so that it's smaller than the actual north elevation. And I'll show you that in the sheets. So we'll go over to the title sheet, and now I can drag and drop this title sheet background onto my drawing. It's large, so I can start to crop it, and the best way to do that is to have these two views open. We can type in WT to window tile all the views and ZA to zoom all. I can close these two and type in ZA and type in WT again and ZA if I need to. And then here in my title sheet, I made this a little bit big so I can go over with them side by side now. I can kind of see how big this blue color background is as I start to stretch it across to fit my paper. Probably could have sized this earlier. That's okay. I'm here. There. Now I won't need a title for this one, so I can click on the title and go to Edit Type, and where it says Show Title, I can change this to No. And now I don't have a title, and I end up with this nice shape that's on the drawing that I can modify. In the title sheet background view, I can go to Annotate and go to the region and pick Masking Region and use these tools to kind of mask as a choice that view. If I'd like to include an angle on this crop region, the green check mark, it can mask out that piece, and later we'll make this, we'll turn off the visibility of the crop region. So if I want to now pull my title sheet elevation in to my title sheet, I can drag it and drop it onto my sheet. But you see it's a little big for my sheet at that scale. So you have a choice of going back to the view or double click right here in the sheet, and you can then activate the view and change the scale. So if I want it to be small because it is a cover sheet, I can make that a scale of 1 inch equals 30 feet or whatever you need for that cover sheet. And now if I right click, I can deactivate the view so that I can bring this drawing into my sheet. So here in the sheet that's the background, you can click on these little break lines and it'll separate the crop regions. And so now you're starting to design your own background color. You can even select this masking and stretch it out too. Now I can, in the background view, take the check mark out of crop region visible, and I've got this nice background design that I can use for my title sheet. Yours can be completely different. Maybe you'd like to have more horizontal lines for your design. Um, it can be whatever you'd like it to be. We can also add images to our title sheet. So here I'm going to go to Insert. I'll close out of, actually I'll just maximize this title sheet. I'll go to Insert and pick Image and bring in an image. What you'll notice is that in the individual views, when you bring images in, you'll have this draw order to bring it forward or send it back. On the sheet, the individual views are always on top of these images. In this title sheet, we can bring the vicinity map or location map from Google. We can bring that in as an image, file, and we can also start to add a sheet list. So we'll be creating a new sheet. So let's just do that now. So we can highlight sheets, right click and pick new sheet, and we're going to use that new 11 by 17 that we created with your logo and your design already. We can name this one 3D ambient presentation or 3D presentation, and then this could be A1, and we'll have a couple other sheets, but let's go back to the title sheet so that we can start this sheet list. We can go to the View tab and go to Schedules and pick Sheet List. In this schedule, we can pick here sheet number and pick Add, and sheet name and pick Add. And then we'll come back to this to customize it, but if we go ahead and pick OK, this is our sheet list. We could rename that if we'd like, drawing index, and you'll see already that the names of our sheets are in this list. So we can go back to the title sheet and then go in the project browser under schedules and quantities and drag and drop the drawing index into our title sheet. As we create new sheets, we'll see them added to this list. We can also create a parameter that helps us to change the sheet order. So let's go back to our drawing index schedule under schedules and quantities, and then in properties we can pick fields, and in this sheet list properties we'll pick add a parameter, and we'll call that parameter sheet order, and that sheet order will be based on numbering system. So the type of parameter instead of length will be integer, and we'll go ahead and pick OK. Now with sheet order highlighted, we can go to sorting and grouping tab and sort by sheet order, and make sure you have here picked ascending and pick OK. Now we have this sheet order column, and these columns can be hidden. So once you start to organize your sheets in a list, you can always hide this column. And here under sheet order, we can start to change the numbers. So if we wanted the title to be 0 and the 3D ambient presentation to be 1, each one of these rows will have these little arrows that we can use to change the number so that our sheets are in the order that we'd like them to be in for the sheet list. When we're done with the sheet list, or we want to print, we can right click and hide this column so that it doesn't appear on the title sheet, and when we need it back we can then right click and unhide all the columns so that we can continue with the sheet order. This is important when you're working with construction drawings and you have several sheets in a drawing index. We also have guide grids that we can use on our sheets. In the View tab, if we pick guide grid and we give it a name, guide grid 1, you can select the grid and change its extents to the sheet itself if you'd like by using these small circular grips. And then you'll see in properties that you can change The grid spacing, if you'd like to change it to from 1 inch to 2 inch, you'll see it change when you pick apply. Once you set up that guide grid, you can then, when you go to another sheet, if you need to use it for a different sheet, at the bottom of properties, you can see guide grid none. You can change that to guide grid 1 and pick apply, and now you can apply it to that sheet.